Hi guys, it's your girl from Philly. Welcome to another episode of Handcrafted Wines, where we make great wine at home the fun and easy way. Before we get started, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any episodes.
I'm stuck in a cloud, drifting away to get out.
In today's episode, we're going to be making spiced apple cider wine. Now, if you watched my first episode, you'll know that was my very first wine, spiced apple cider. I made it from apples from my mother-in-law's tree. And that batch of wine was absolutely positively terrible. But over the years, I've improved, and I'm going to be trying my new recipe for spiced apple cider wine with you today. So our ingredients are apple cider. For our spice, I have 2 cinnamon sticks, 2 star anise pods. Down here, I have 6 cloves somewhere, a handful of white raisins, the peel of 1 lemon, the juice of a half a lemon. We'll be using just 2 cups of sugar today, absolutely just 2 cups of sugar. And for our usual players, we're going to be using our pectic enzyme just to break down some of the essence that's in the lemon peel, as well as break down the golden raisins. Our dynamic duo, which is our yeast nutrient and our yeast energizer. Some tannin. And our yeast is going to be our Red Star Premier Classique. Okay, let's get started. The very first thing that I'm going to do is add our spices to our straining bag. Our spices and our raisins and our lemon peel. And I'll explain to you why. I want them to get a little bit of heat. So I'm going to add some boiling water to them. So we have our 2 cinnamon sticks. We have our, I love that scent, 2 star anise pods. It has that licorice scent to it. I'm going to add our lemon peel. And remember, we only want the peel. We don't want the white pith. The white pith would make our wine bitter. And my cloves are down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 cloves. We don't want more than 6 cloves for the reason that cloves go a long way. It's such a strong spice. And then I'm going to also add our raisins in. And before I do anything else, I'm going to just hit this with a little bit of hot water, not much. We just want to bring out some of those spices. Alternately, what you can do is take your spices and toast them in the oven for a few minutes, or toast them in a dry saute pan for just a few minutes, just to bring out the spices. But it's always important to give your spices a little bit of heat to get the full benefit of it. So I'm going to put the straining bag in there, and we'll go ahead and we will juice our half of a lemon. The other half won't go to waste because we're going to be making ginger wine tomorrow. Put that in there. And this is going to take the place of our acid blend today, so we won't be using acid blend since we've used lemon. All right, that was good. And I'm just going to stir this in a little bit. I just want those spices activated by the heat. Now, it's not going to be an overly spicy wine, but it will have the taste of the cinnamon, the anise, and the cloves. Another thing is when I originally made it, I used nutmeg instead of anise, and nutmeg doesn't really impart a lot of flavor. It has more of a wood chip quality to it. So if you were going to put wood chips in at the back end to give it a little bit more earthy smokiness, something like nutmeg would work then. But as far as the spice, it doesn't really come across. We're going to add all 2 cups of our sugar. And I'm going to stir it with the amount of water that we have because we don't want to add any more water. Just to dissolve it some. We want a lot of our flavor to come from the apple cider. And because we have added some water, we won't be using all of the apple cider. But we want to use as much as possible. So it's still dissolving, even though it's just a little bit of water in here. I know in our area, there's so many farms that you can go apple picking during autumn time, in the fall, that is so much fun to get your own apples. And some of those places actually press it and make the apple cider right there too, so you can get fresh apple cider. I don't feel a lot of sugar crystals, but I'm going to stir a little bit longer just to be sure. Apple is one of those fruits that ferment very, very well. And the difference between a hard cider and an apple cider wine is basically the ABV. And a hard cider finishes sparkling, and a wine, well, it could be sparkling, but typically your apple cider wine is just a wine. It's not sparkling. But the ABV of a hard cider would be anywhere between 6 to 8% alcohol by volume. And of course, with wine, we want it to at least be 12% to consider it a good wine. 10% it is wine, but 12% to make it a good wine. Okay, that's pretty clear. We were able to stir all of that sugar up. So I'm going to add the apple cider in. I let the apple cider sit with the cap loose overnight just because I saw that they had a little bit of preservatives in it, and we don't want preservatives, so we had to give it time to dissipate. Oh yeah, we're absolutely not going to use all this apple cider. It had solids in the bottom of it. And that's just the pectic, the pectin collecting at the bottom. How much was this? Oh, 64 fluid ounces. Okay. Yeah, I feel no sugar, so the sugar is completely dissolved. I'm curious to see what the starting gravity is going to be on this batch. So we actually finished with quite a bit to drink, which is fine. Or I may put it in the freezer and use it to, yeah, I think I'll do that. I'll use it to back sweeten a little bit later, or at least when I put it into secondary fermentation, because we will lose a little bit. Not much though, because there's no fruit in here, just the raisins. Okay, it's time to add our usual players. We're going to use our pectic enzyme, our dynamic duo, which is our yeast nutrient and our yeast energizer. And I'm going to dissolve our tannin in a tiny bit of water, just so it doesn't give us any problem. The slightest bit. Now, of course, alternately, if you weren't going to use powdered tannin, you could use black tea in this case. I like powdered tannin. I think it's convenient, and I like the quality that it provides the wine. It's being a little stubborn today, too. I may need to hit it with a little bit more water. The last thing you want is for your tannin to coagulate and into clumps, because it's not really benefiting your batch at that time. Are we close to it? It's really being stubborn today. I'm going to wipe tips off on the bag. Okay, and that should be good. Yep, that's good. And this is super simple. There's not much else to do except to check this every day for the next 7 days. Make sure that I stir some oxygen in it every day for the first 7 days, and then kind of just let it do its thing for the next couple of months. So I'm going to check the specific gravity just to see where we are to start with. As soon as I find my hydrometer. There we go. I'm going to blitz it with some Star San solution, as well as my beaker. Sit that in there for a moment. And I also want to spray my turkey baster. It's been cleaned inside with Star San solution as well. So I'm going to take that out and lay it across my glass. Don't you move. Don't you go anywhere. Okay. I'm pretty confident in the 2 cups of sugar and that I won't need any more sugar, which is why I didn't even bother putting it there. The number that we finish at is going to be the number that we go with when it comes to this batch. I'm assuming it's going to be at least 12% ABV, maybe a little higher, because the apple cider is a concentrated sugar. It's actually much sweeter than apple juice. A lot of that has to do with the fact that there's still a little fiber, a little pectin in the liquid. It hasn't been stripped. So this is going to be a quick one where we can do one reading and one reading only. And I was absolutely right. I'm going to let it settle. Okay. You stay there. Okay. So our reading is 1.085, almost at 1.090. And that's going to give us an ABV. Let's get so quirky. Of just under 12%. I'm not going to add any more sugar. So it may finish at about 11 and some change, or we may find that it actually finishes at 12. We'll see. But I'm going to stop there. I'm pretty satisfied with it. This is not the type of wine that you want a heavy alcohol volume with. You want to be able to sip it and enjoy it. So we're going to stay exactly where we are. All right, the next step is to add our lid with our drilled grommet, our drilled hole in a grommet. And my airlock. Everything has been cleaned and sanitized very carefully. I think I say that a lot, but it's necessary to say it. It really is. This is such a fun hobby. Oh, I did it again, guys. I gotta add the yeast. It's such a fun hobby, but the food safety part of this is extremely crucial. Yeah, this was just going to be juice with additives without the yeast. Okay, so we're going to add our Red Star yeast. Oh, they're hydrating rapidly. Now, when you look at your yeast, you're going to see it'll be like it'll look like pellets. Those extrusions are actually like the same way they make noodles, where they're just pressing it through an extruder. In that one little nugget that you see, you're actually seeing a lot of yeast all compacted together. Because of course they're microorganisms. We can't see them. We can only see when they're happy. That didn't take much at all. Make sure it all goes in and not on the spoon. The company that makes Red Star Fermentis, they are out of France, which I guess is the reason why all the yeast have French names. But they also make bread yeast and other yeast as well. They make yeast for beer. So I guess anything that needs fermentation. Okay. I won't put that back in there. Oh yeah, they're responding really quickly. I got a little bit of yeast that moved to the top. I want to make sure it stays hydrated. There we go. All right. So we have our apple cider, spiced apple cider wine. Again, it will take about 7 days to make sure that it's stirred properly every day and air is incorporated to make sure that the yeast stay healthy. We'll have wine in about 7 to 14 days. We'll have good wine in about 6 months, and we'll have great wine in about a year. I'll be taste testing this at the first racking on the 15th day, as well as probably 3 months in, just to see how it's progressing. But I can see us being able to probably enjoy this by harvest time, which will be good. Even though it won't be from that harvest, it'll be a harvest type wine. All right, that's all I have for you in this episode. I want to thank you for coming to visit me again. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, click that notification bell, tell all your friends, get yourself some equipment and make some wine with me. And thank you so much for spending time with me. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.